My name is Todd Thorsen. I'm the CISO for CrashPlan, and I'm super excited to participate in TechNedu's Humans in Cyber interview. I would say today the most important part of my role is enabling the business to move quickly and accomplish objectives while maintaining security. One of, I think, the biggest shifts has been the speed of technology adoption that we're all experiencing, certainly including AI, but also cloud platforms, third-party services, and automation are introducing accelerated change into our environments. And so we have to adapt as the security teams go. I don't think anybody ever wants security to be a roadblock to business operations, objectives, strategy. So partnerships are really important. Engagement and communication are just really key. Making sure that security is engaged early in the process to partner with our subject matter experts on whatever they're trying to accomplish. So those are probably the big ones for me. It's a continuing evolution, I think, from being rooted in technical security capabilities, but evolving really into an enterprise risk and strategy partner with the organization, and that kind of ties back to creating those partnerships within the environment, having strong engagement, being open to ideas, and being able to sort of communicate and partner to achieve those objectives is a key. Yeah. So I would say, I mean, there's a number of things. I think assumptions in general are just problematic. So really understanding the services. One element that I think is really important is understanding the shared responsibility model. What is the vendor responsible for, and then what are you as the end user client responsible for from a controls perspective? If you get into a position where you're making assumptions that the vendor's got it covered, you might find yourself into a challenging position. So I think it's really understanding what that looks like and making sure you've got the controls and configurations that are your responsibility addressed. Other things are putting an over-reliance on, things like SOC 2, ISO, PCI certifications, right? They're point-in-time assessments over a period of time, but they're not necessarily reflective of what the control environment for the vendor looks like today. So just putting that as a piece of, the thought process there as you're evaluating onboarding new vendors, especially. And then understanding what sub-processors are in use, right? What fourth parties is the vendor relying on? That's a part of the supply chain. So just understanding and having visibility, what sub-processors are in use, so you can have a holistic picture of what risk looks like with that third party, but then also how it applies within your environment. Prevention is really important and always will be. But I think there really needs to be a holistic approach to a protection strategy that encompasses prevention, detection, and resilience, and assigning equal weight based on risk and criticality factors that are unique to your environment. So as you're sort of looking at that, certainly you want to have, visibility, prevention and detection capabilities on the front end, but also having a realistic perspective that those don't always work. Things are going to happen, assuming a breach, assuming problematic environment, and being able to have a resiliency plan where you can recover and continue operations when things go wrong. Yeah, I mean, there are different responsibilities that sort of bridge the security team and then the overarching leadership team. There's different incentives, different information that's available. And so when those roles become blurred, organizations are going to lose valuable time. So really understanding what those responsibilities look like is important. I think about like the security team really answering the what can we do based on the facts at hand, and leadership team is answering sort of the question of what should we do, weighing the technical advice and the factual elements that come into play against business considerations. The security team is going to be owning, a determination of what happened, conducting the technical and forensic investigations, executing a containment strategy, doing eradication and recovery, assigning technical impacts, threat analysis, things like that. The leadership team is really thinking about making determinations on business risk tolerance. How does this fit in? What are the consequences? Prioritizing business continuity efforts. What are the things that we need to light up first? And then what does the flow down look like there? Making decisions on business risk trade-offs. And then having the customer, regulator, investor, stakeholder communications, and being really front and center with that, and thinking about the legal and reputational risks. So that's high level kind of summary on how to maybe think through that a little bit. Yeah, I think the difference is, organizations, who, or the distinction between organizations that sort of bounce back, and become stronger after the fact versus those who sort of limp through and it drags out for months and in some cases years, comes down to some of the operational and structural underpinnings and cultural elements that are in place at the organization. So really things like preparedness. So having, defined and practiced incident response, breach response plans, DR, BCP plans in place, that aren't just policies that sit on the shelf, but they're actually practiced in the organization. So as you're going through things like tabletop exercises, you're doing debriefs after those exercises. How do we make things stronger? Where do we have opportunities to make improvement? Where do we have gaps, and understanding what that looks like? So when an incident hits, prepared organizations are executing off of a rehearsed playbook. People are familiar with it. They sort of feel like, to a certain degree, that they've been there, done that. And they know what their roles and responsibilities are in that. Culture is also an important element. Instead of placing blame, right? The CEO and the board are treating or thinking about the incident as a business problem, right? That the whole leadership team has responsibilities for. And with the absence of that, that muscle memory, so to speak, that can really slow down decision making and execution when those things are of utmost importance. Yeah. So identity governance is a really big one. So thinking about every agent as a unique credentialed identity, with appropriate scoping, least privilege access, is an important piece. Where you can introduce just-in-time access, granting permissions dynamically per task, revoking them afterwards, so you don't have standing broad access scenarios. Thinking about infrastructure level enforcement, so policing agent actions via policy gateways that intercept tool calls, not just the prompting level guardrails that come into place. They can be easily bypassed. Risk tiering autonomy. What are those agents able to do? And again, sort of applying that sort of criticality thought process there. So maybe you let low risk reversible actions run in a more unsupervised mode, and then you apply your more human approval, human in the loop elements into higher impact irreversible ones that can cause catastrophic damage. Observability is a really important element as well. So logging, auditing capabilities for actions, chain of events, things of that nature. And then maintaining an inventory of the agents that are in the environment. What are they doing? Who owns them? What's responsibilities? And what does that look like?